I am Jordan Blake, 32 years old and the secret founder of a software conglomerate worth billions. My family has no idea. For years, they have belittled my career choices, dismissed my ambitions, and treated me like the family disappointment. Tonight, at Christmas dinner, my sister Veronica smirked as my mother announced I would be sleeping in the unheated basement storage room while her boss got the spare bedroom. My hands trembled with silent rage beneath the table. 5 years I have hidden my success, endured their mockery. They have no clue that tomorrow everything changes. Before I tell you how I went from sleeping in a frozen basement storage room to watching my family's jaws drop, let me know where you're watching from and subscribe for more stories about standing your ground. I grew up in suburban Philadelphia in a family that valued traditional markers of success. My parents, Julia and Edward Montgomery, had very specific ideas about what achievement looked like: prestigious universities, conventional career paths, and the external validation that came with them. My older sister, Veronica, now 38, was the golden child who checked every box on their list of expectations. She attended an Ivy League school, got her MBA, and landed a marketing director position at Apex Industries, a well-established tech firm. Every family gathering became a showcase for her accomplishments. My younger brother, Ethan, 28, quickly learned to follow Veronica's blueprint. He studied finance, joined a respected accounting firm, and recently made junior partner. My parents beamed with pride whenever they spoke about him, their voices warm with approval. Then there was me, stuck in the middle, the square peg. They could never hammer into their round hole of expectations. From the time I was 10, I was fascinated by computers and coding. While other kids played video games, I wanted to understand how they worked. I would spend hours taking apart old electronics and teaching myself programming languages. My parents viewed this as me playing around a phase I would outgrow once I discovered real interests. "Crystal, when are you going to join a proper club?" my mother would ask. Colleges look for well-rounded students, not kids who sit in their room all day. High school only widened the gap between my interests and my family's expectations. While Veronica was class president and prom queen, I started a coding club that met in the computer lab during lunch. My unconventional thinking that teachers praised as innovative was labeled at home as a lack of focus. "You jump from one project to another," my father complained after I abandoned a half-finished robot to work on a website I was building. "You need to see things through, like your sister." What they failed to understand was that I wasn't abandoning ideas. I was evolving them, each project teaching me something I carried into the next. College was supposed to be my turning point. I enrolled in business school to appease my parents, but simultaneously worked on my startup idea. By sophomore year, I knew I had something promising, a revolutionary cloud security solution that larger companies were already expressing interest in. When I decided to drop out to pursue it full-time, my family reacted as if I had announced plans to join a cult. "You are throwing your life away," my father said, his disappointment palpable across the dinner table. "We did not raise you to be a quitter. Even if this little project of yours works out, which it won't, what kind of life will that be?" My mother added, "No stability, no benefits, no real career." Veronica, home for the weekend, shook her head with that superior smile I had grown to hate. "Not everyone is cut out for success, Mom. Some people need to learn the hard way." The comparisons became relentless after that. Every family gathering turned into a showcase of Veronica's achievements, juxtaposed against my perceived failures. She would arrive in her luxury car dressed in designer clothes, talking about her corner office and team of subordinates. My parents introduced her with pride at neighborhood functions while awkwardly changing the subject when asked about me. Veronica just closed a 7-figure marketing deal my father would tell anyone who would listen. "Crystal's still figuring things out," my mother would say when forced to acknowledge my existence. The turning point came 3 years ago at Thanksgiving dinner. I had just secured $2 million in seed funding. But when I tried to share the news, Veronica interrupted with an announcement about her promotion to senior director. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," my mother exclaimed, completely forgetting I had been mid-sentence. As everyone raised their glasses to toast Veronica, I made a decision. I would stop seeking their approval. More than that, I would keep my growing success to myself. Let them think what they wanted. Someday, when the time was right, they would learn the truth. That night, I founded Nexate Solutions. What began as a security software startup quickly expanded into a comprehensive tech ecosystem that attracted major clients. Within 2 years, we had offices in 3 cities. By year 3, we had gone international. I built strategic partnerships, acquired smaller companies, and reinvested profits to fuel exponential growth, all while maintaining a modest public persona. As founder, I made the unconventional choice to remain anonymous in industry circles, operating through trusted executives for public appearances. It was partly a business strategy allowing us the advantage of being underestimated by competitors, but mostly it was personal. I wasn't ready for my family to know. The emotional toll of living this double life was significant. I owned a penthouse downtown but told my family I rented a studio apartment. Muted snow blurred the city skyline outside the corner office windows. Jordan Blake lingered, fingers tracing the crisp Nexatech seal on the polished desk. Her heart beat fast, with a mix of anticipation and dread. A crisp white envelope sat unopened nearby. The silence broke as Diane's voice echoed softly. "Not until after the holidays." Jordan's jaw clenched. Just 7 days from now, everything would change for Ashley Montgomery, the golden girl in their family, the sister who had always overshadowed her. But what if Ashley didn't break? What if Jordan didn't just survive, but fought back? She remembered the Thanksgiving table, where Ashley's promotion announcement drowned out Jordan's own $2 million seed funding win, the cold dismissal from her parents, the weight of their disappointment like a silent winter chill. Yet tonight, Jordan sat in her penthouse downtown, owning a software conglomerate worth billions, a fortune grown quietly under the radar. Driving her 10-year-old Honda to family dinners, she wore invisibility like armor. Her luxury cars sat hidden in the basement storage room, symbols of success no one else acknowledged. 5 years ago, she launched Nexate Solutions with a vow, not to seek their approval, but to prove her worth on her own terms. Tonight, the irony was sharp. The acquisition papers for Apex Industries, the very company Ashley built her career on, lay on Jordan's desk. Apex was now Jordan's, the company fueling Ashley's superiority complex, and soon, Ashley would unknowingly work for her sister, the family disappointment. The invitation from their parents was as cold and logistical as always. Christmas Eve dinner at 6. No warmth, no hope, just an expectation. Jordan replied, masking every instinct to say no. She knew the script. Ashley would shine, their parents would praise, and Jordan would disappear in the shadows again. Yet something stirred beneath that calm surface. Tomorrow, a week after the holidays, Jordan planned to unveil her biggest move. Would she finally claim the recognition she deserved, or would her family's long silence break her first? The snow outside whispered secrets. The clock ticked. Then, silence. What happens next? I pulled into the driveway behind an ostentatious Jaguar I didn't recognize. Inside, I found my answer. Veronica had brought a guest, Harold Winters, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Apex Industries, her boss, and the man she had been trying to impress for years. "Crystal, you remember Harold?" Veronica said. Though we had never met, she wore a red designer dress that probably cost more than what she thought I earned in a month. Harold stood beside her in an expertly tailored suit, Rolex gleaming on his wrist. "Actually, we haven't had the pleasure," I said, extending my hand. I had deliberately dressed down in jeans and a simple sweater, playing my part to perfection. "Crystal, there you are, my mother," called from the kitchen doorway. "I could use some help with the vegetables." Veronica and Harold are catching up with your father in the living room." And there it was, the familiar pattern. Veronica entertained in the living room while I was relegated to kitchen duty. I silently chopped carrots and peeled potatoes, listening to the laughter from the other room. "So, how's the new corner office, Harold?" my father asked. "Veronica tells us the view of the harbor is spectacular." "It certainly is, Richard." "Though I hear our mysterious new founder has an even better one," Harold replied. My ears perked up at this. Technically, I did have a better view from the top floor of the Nexitec Tower downtown. "Have you met this new founder yet?" my father inquired. "No one," has Veronica interjected. "He's like a ghost. Makes all these decisions that upend everything but never shows his face." Her face, I whispered to myself, smiling slightly at the carrot I was chopping. "Jordan Blake, how's that little website thing you were working on?" My father called out suddenly, remembering my existence. "Any luck with it?" I bit my tongue. My little website thing had just acquired Veronica's company for $3 billion. "It's coming along," I answered noncommittally. She's used to roughing it with that startup lifestyle. My blood ran cold. The basement storage room in Boston in December with no heating. My hands trembled with silent rage as I slipped back into the kitchen, pretending I hadn't heard. 5 years of building an empire while enduring their mockery, and they were banishing me to a freezing basement storage room for Christmas Eve. The dining room gleamed with holiday perfection. Crystal glasses caught the light from the chandelier. Fine china plates sat on the heirloom tablecloth, and a centerpiece of pine and holly ran down the middle of the table. It was a scene straight from a Christmas catalog, right down to the assigned seating that placed me at the far end, practically in another time zone from the rest of the conversation. My mother had positioned Harold at the head of the table with my father at the other end. Veronica sat to Harold's right, my mother to his left, and Ethan next to Veronica. I was placed at the furthest point beside an empty chair, physically manifesting my emotional distance from the family. Harold, to his credit, seemed slightly uncomfortable with the arrangement. Several times during the passing of dishes, he made eye contact with me, a curious expression on his face. "So, Jordan Blake," he said, during a lull in conversation. "What exactly do you do in tech?" Veronica mentioned. "You're interested in the field." Before I could answer, Veronica let out a laugh that she poorly disguised as clearing her throat. "Oh, Crystal dabbles in web stuff," she said dismissively. "Nothing on the scale you're used to at Apex." "I work in security solutions," I said, meeting Harold's eyes directly. "Cloud infrastructure mainly." A flash of genuine interest crossed his face. "Really? That's actually one of our growth areas at Apex. We just acquired a smaller security firm last quarter. What platforms do you specialize in?" "Harold?" Veronica interrupted, placing her hand on his arm. "You don't need to talk shop with Jordan Blake." Steam curled from Jordan Blake's mug, cinnamon, sharp and sweet, and her gloved hands hovered just above the radiator vents. The cold air bit at her skin. A memory surfaced, sudden and raw. The last time her parents had truly praised her. It was here, in this very kitchen, years ago, after she'd won the elementary science fair. She could still smell the overloaded outlets, hear the quiet hum of pride, before it all turned sour. Now, every holiday felt colder. Every word of praise was reserved for someone else. The scent of rain pressed against the window pane as dry leaves rustled outside, a faint whisper against the quiet. Jordan sipped her drink, feeling the distance stretch between her and her family, the same distance that had grown wider with every gathering. Across the table sat Ashley Montgomery, smirking with the ease of someone who belonged, the favored daughter, the one who'd mastered the game of family expectations. During Thanksgiving dinner, the room glittered with fine china and polished silver, but Jordan was seated at the far end, as if she belonged to another world. "So, Jordan." Harold Montgomery leaned in, breaking the silence. His curiosity was genuine. "What exactly do you do in tech?" Ashley's dismissive laugh cut the room. "Oh, Jordan just dabbles in web stuff. Nothing like the big leagues at Apex. Jordan met Harold's steady gaze. I work in cloud security, mainly infrastructure. For a moment, a flicker of interest. Really? That's one of our growth areas. What platforms do you specialize in? Before she could answer, Ashley interrupted, placing her hand lightly on Harold's arm, redirecting the conversation with practiced ease. Tell him about the Tokyo expansion instead. Her words acted like a switch. Jordan's brief moment of recognition faded. The dinner moved on, slick and rehearsed. Ashley dominated with stories of clients and deals. Their parents nodded, pride shining bright in their eyes. Ethan chimed in occasionally, earning his own share of approval. When Jordan spoke, responses were polite, but empty. The topic shifted again before her words could ground. The meal wound down. "The food is delicious," Harold praised between bites. "You've outdone yourself." Their mother beamed. "It's so nice having everyone home for Thanksgiving." But then came the hardest part. "We should discuss sleeping arrangements," her father said. The room grew quieter, tension bubbling beneath the surface. Harold was generously given the spare bedroom. Ashley reclaimed her childhood room. Ethan's space was already set. All eyes turned to Jordan. Her mother's voice grew unnaturally cheerful. "Jordan, we set up the basement storage room for you. There's a cot and blankets. Just for one night, of course." Jordan's stomach twisted. Below, the cold air seeped through cracked windows. The basement had no heat. Ashley smirked behind her wine glass. Ethan suddenly found his mashed potatoes fascinating. Jordan's voice was flat. "The basement isn't heated?" Her father shrugged. "You can use a space heater." Like it was a gift. Harold's look was one of quiet shock. Jordan swallowed the cold lump in her throat. Was this what being family meant now? The rain tapped against the glass, a soft rhythm that matched the pulse of her resolve. If they wouldn't see her worth, she would prove it, on her own terms. No more shadows, no more silence. Tonight was just another cold chapter. But Jordan Blake was just getting started. Jordan Blake hesitated at the threshold of the basement storage room. The harsh light spilled onto the icy pavement outside, casting long shadows she didn't want to face. A sudden flashback hit her, a childhood snow day. She was bundled tightly in an itchy scarf, her nose tingling from the sharp cold. The sharp scent of pine from a discarded wreath drifted through the air. Inside, muffled laughter spilled from the windows. She pressed her ear against the glass, desperate to catch a word. Anything. Always on the outside, hands raw, cheeks burning, just missing the warmth and company she craved. Now, years later, the basement was no warmer than that memory. Boxes piled high, forgotten exercise gear, and old Thanksgiving decorations crammed the space. In the middle, a sagging cot with a thin mattress and threadbare blankets stared back. A rusted space heater sat unused. Her mother's voice echoed, trying to sound cheerful. "It's only for one night, Jordan. You'll probably be on your laptop anyway." Jordan's calm voice cut through the cold air. "The basement isn't heated." Her father shrugged. "You can use a space heater." Asher Montgomery's smirk behind her wine glass was sharp, like a knife. Her brother Ethan poked at his mashed potatoes distractedly. Harold looked uncomfortable, but no one offered a different room. No one truly saw Jordan. She pulled out her phone, screen glowing in the dim light. The temperature read 28 degrees. The cold seeped through her jacket, but the frost inside her was worse. A message blinked on her screen. Urgent documents from her team. The Apex acquisition was going live tomorrow morning. Nexatech would finally be revealed as its new parent company. And Jordan would be named founder. Her fingers hovered. Why wait for tomorrow? Why not take control now? Her assistant's text buzzed. "Prepared to send the executive briefing tonight if you approve." Jordan's eyes narrowed. Tonight wasn't just a cold night in the basement. It was the moment she broke free from the family's shadow. The moment she declared her worth. on her own terms. No more waiting, no more silence. The fight for recognition was just beginning. At 8:30 p.m., the basement storage room, cold and shadowed, held its breath. Outside, the faint scent of frost clung to the air. My phone's screen glowed hard in the dim light. A single message awaited. All department heads at Apex had been notified at once. Harold and Ashley, key players, would see it immediately. Harold's reaction, I could already imagine it, would break the silence. My finger hovered over send. 5 years of being overlooked, dismissed. 5 years of biting my tongue, shrinking into shadows. And now, stuck in this freezing, forgotten corner on Thanksgiving night, was I going to let that define me? The basement door creaked open. Harold stepped inside, his expression soft, almost sheepish. "Hey, I just wanted to check if you were okay out here. It's cold," he said. Before I could answer, his phone buzzed sharply, then again, and again. Harold frowned, pulling out his phone. Something was wrong. Multiple urgent messages from the executive team on Thanksgiving night. He opened one. His face changed. Confusion, then disbelief. "This says Apex was acquired by Nexatech Solutions. Effective immediately. Impossible. We'd have known." His phone rang. Without hesitation, he answered. "Harold Winters." "Yes, I see the emails now. No, I had no idea. The founder wants to speak with me. Now." He paused, eyes widening as the voice spoke, then slowly turned toward me. Recognition struck him like a lightning bolt. "She's right here," he whispered. The basement suddenly felt colder. Harold stared, phone pressed to his ear. A quiet voice, my COO's, asked if he was certain he was speaking with Jordan Blake, founder of Nexatech Solutions. "Yes, I believe I am," he said cautiously, eyes locked on mine. I held out my hand. "May I?" His hand moved stiffly, passing me the phone. In that moment, everything changed. The quiet years of doubt, the long nights in the shadows, shattered under the weight of this call. The war within my family wasn't over, but now the world saw me, the real me, and I was ready. The room felt unreal. I sat on a worn cot, surrounded by my parents' cluttered basement storage room. 5 years of silence, of being invisible, were about to break. My fingers tightened around the phone as I spoke in the executive voice I'd learned to use, a voice my family had never heard. "James, I said, firm and clear. "I'm with Harold now. The timeline moved up. Proceed with the full announcement tonight to the executive team. We'll address the staff tomorrow, as planned." A pause. Then James's confused voice. "Tonight is Christmas Eve, ma'am." "I'm aware," I answered, eyes locked on Harold's face, which had gone pale. "The circumstances have changed. Proceed immediately." I ended the call and handed the phone back to Harold. He took it like it was a fragile piece of glass, disbelief written across his face. "You're the founder of Nexatech now," he murmured, more to himself than to me. "I bought Apex," I confirmed, closing my laptop with a quiet snap. His eyes flicked around the dim, cold room, the cot, the space heater struggling against December's chill. "Sleeping in a basement storage room on Christmas Eve," he said slowly. "It appears so," I replied without shame. The basement door creaked open again, and Ashley stepped inside, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Her face was pale, restrained panic. "Harold, did you get those emails? Something's happening with the company. They say we've been acquired." She trailed off as she saw the look on his face and then followed his gaze to me. "What's going on?" I stood carefully, stiffness from the cot still in my bones. "Maybe we should talk inside. It's cold out here." They followed me through the narrow hallway into the warm kitchen. The scent of last night's apple pie lingered faintly. My parents were cleaning up after Thanksgiving dinner, their movements automatic. "Already done settling in?" my mother asked without looking up. I took a breath, steadying myself. "There's been a change of plans," I said softly. "We need to talk." For a moment, the room stilled. My mother turned around, dishcloth in hand, her eyes finally on me. That silence spoke volumes. The basement blurred as my grip tightened on the frayed cot. Suddenly, I was 12 again, kneeling on cold concrete, shivering under the harsh yellow light. Ashley was there, holding a gleaming trophy high, parading it proudly to our parents. The sharp scent of motor oil mixed with the warm sweetness of apple pie drifting from upstairs, a boundary I was never allowed to cross. The taste of resentment was bitter in my mouth, edged with a desperate longing for just a scrap of recognition. I felt my cheeks burn at the memory of muffled laughter behind closed doors. The quiet approval I craved had never come my way. Was I invisible, or worse, the family disappointment? Each memory was a sting, a whisper of what I had to prove, and that I could. Back in the kitchen, the weight of that past hung between us. Ashley's smug gaze was as sharp as ever, a silent challenge. She'd been the golden child, successful, competitive, always striving to keep her place in their eyes, but I was no longer the sister who stayed on the sidelines. "Why now?" Ashley asked, her voice cool. "Why, after all these years?" I met her eyes without flinching. "Because the world needs to see the real me, not the shadow you wanted me to be." The room filled with tension, thick and almost physical. I could almost hear the rustling leaves outside, the cold air pressing against the windows like silent witnesses. At that moment, everything shifted. The story of our family wasn't just about who was favored anymore. It was about reclaiming my worth on my terms. And I was ready. My father looked up from drying a serving platter, and Ethan paused, loading the dishwasher. "What's wrong?" my father asked, looking between me and the shell-shocked expressions on Veronica and Harold's faces. Harold's phone rang again, breaking the tension. He glanced at the screen, then at me, clearly unsure what to do. "You should answer that," I told him. "It's probably the CFO with the retention package details." His eyebrows shot up, but he answered the call, putting it on speaker, perhaps without even realizing it. "Harold, it's Greg from Finance. Have you seen the announcement? Nexitech has acquired us and the founder wants immediate meetings with all department heads. They're saying she's been working undercover or something. Do you know anything about this?" The kitchen fell completely silent. 5 pairs of eyes fixed on me. "Greg, I'll call you back," Harold said faintly, ending the call. Crystal Veronica began, her voice unusually high. "What is he talking about? What do you know about this?" I looked around at my family at the kitchen, where I'd spent countless holidays feeling invisible. The moment I had both dreaded and anticipated for 5 years had arrived. "I'm the founder of Nexitech Solutions," I said simply. "As of last week, I own Apex Industries." The silence that followed was absolute. My mother's dishcloth slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. My father's mouth opened and closed without sound. Ethan froze mid-motion, a plate suspended between his hands and the dishwasher. Veronica broke the silence with a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "That's not possible. Nexate is worth billions. It's one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country." "Yes, I agreed it is." "But you dropped out of college," my father stammered. "You've been working on some small startup." "That small startup was Nexitech," I explained. "It hasn't been small for quite some time." "You're lying," Veronica accused, though doubt had begun to creep into her voice. "This is some kind of joke." In response, I pulled out my phone and opened a secure app that connected directly to the Nexate system. I entered my authorization code and turned the screen toward them, showing the dashboard that only the founder could access. "This is real-time data from our global operations," I explained. "Our current valuation is just over $11 billion. We have 7,000 employees across 4 continents, and as of last week, that includes everyone at Apex Industries." Harold had begun nodding slowly, pieces falling into place. The security innovations, the management, restructuring the focus on cloud infrastructure. That was all you. Every bit of it, I confirmed. But why didn't you tell us? My mother asked, finding her voice at last. All this time, we thought. You thought I was a failure. I finished for her. You made that abundantly clear. At every holiday, every family gathering, every phone call. We were concerned, my father protested weakly. We wanted security for you. No, I corrected him. Years of pent-up emotion finally breaking through. You wanted me to be like Veronica, to follow a path you understood. When I chose differently, you decided I was lost. You never once asked what I was building or showed any real interest in my work. That's not fair, Veronica interjected. We tried to help you. I offered you jobs connections. You offered me entry-level positions and spoke to me with condescension, I countered. You brought your boss to Thanksgiving dinner and had me banished to the basement storage room so you could impress him. Harold winced at this, looking deeply uncomfortable. I didn't know you'd be in the basement storage room, he said quietly. I would never have agreed to stay if I'd known. My mother stepped forward, her expression shifting to something I rarely saw, directed at me respect and perhaps a touch of fear. Crystal, sweetheart, if we had known about your company, of course we would have supported you. We've always wanted what's best. Please don't, I interrupted, raising a hand. Don't pretend that you would have treated me differently if you'd known I was rich. That only makes it worse. The kitchen fell silent again. My phone continued to buzz with notifications as the news spread through the executive ranks at both companies. Outside, snow had begun to fall, dusting the window panes with white. So, what happens now? Ethan asked, speaking for the first time. With Apex, I mean. Business continues as usual for most employees, I explained, grateful for the practical question. There will be some restructuring at the executive level, but no mass layoffs. Veronica's face had gone from white to gray. And me, am I fired? The question hung in the air. 5 years ago, I might have savored this moment, the power to determine my sister's fate. Now, it just felt hollow. No, Veronica, you're not fired, I said. Harold's phone buzzed again, a sharp, urgent sound cutting through the tense silence. He glanced at me, an apology flickering in his eyes before stepping into the hallway to take the call. His voice shifted instantly, sharp and authoritative, the seasoned SVP tackling a crisis. Inside the kitchen, Ashley Montgomery's gaze locked onto me like I was a stranger. And in many ways, I was. The Jordan Blake she'd known, her little sister she'd dismissed or pitied, had never truly existed. I cleared my throat. I guess I should grab my things from the basement storage room. I'll find a hotel tonight. No, my mother declared, springing to her feet. It's Thanksgiving, and your family. The sudden concern stung, cruel in its timing. Dad quickly added, The spare bedroom's ready. Harold can take the den or the basement if needed. Not the basement, I said firmly. Not even for one night. Harold reappeared, slipping his phone away. That was the board chairman. Emergency meeting. Tomorrow morning. He looked at me. Something new in his eyes. Respect. Your team moves fast. Efficiency is everything at Nexitech, I answered, locking eyes with him. The room shifted. My family, once so sure of their place, now stood awkward, uncertain. The power they'd held for decades crumbled within minutes. I need some air, Ashley said abruptly, heading for the back door. I followed silently, stepping onto the porch dusted with fresh snow, cold breath forming clouds in the night air. She stood at the railing, back turned. Are you really keeping me on? Or just pretending? For show? I met her gaze. I mean what I say. Your work speaks for itself. Our past doesn't erase that. A slow nod, no words. Ashley's mask cracked just enough. Then, Harold's footsteps approached, measured, heavy on the hardwood. A sudden hush fell over the gathering tension. Her eyes flicked away from me, landing on something on the ground, a tiny, battered notebook I'd accidentally dropped. Her voice cracked, fragile beneath the usual confidence. That notebook. It's mine. Or so I thought. Everyone froze. The secrets scrawled inside, long-forgotten handwriting, belonged to me, not her. The room held its breath. The showdown between sisters wasn't about titles or success anymore. It was about fragile truths, hidden beneath layers of rivalry and silence. Her polished facade faltered. The fight for recognition was no longer just mine. It was ours. Yes, I agreed simply. You have, and now you're my boss. She laughed a short, humorless sound. God, the irony. Life is full of unexpected twists, I said. Finally, she turned to face me. Why didn't you tell me all these years watching me brag about Apex knowing you could buy and sell us 10 times over? Why let me make such a fool of myself? I considered her question, carefully searching for the honest answer. At first it was self-preservation. The company was growing but still vulnerable. Then it became habit, and maybe part of me was waiting. Waiting for what? For one of you to see me. I admitted to be interested in my life without knowing what I had accomplished. To value me. For me, not for my success. Tears welled in Veronica's eyes, something I couldn't remember seeing since we were children. I don't think I know how to do that anymore with anyone. It was perhaps the most honest thing she had ever said to me. I went back inside to retrieve my overnight bag from the basement storage room, moving past my stunned family members who seemed frozen in place. When I returned to the house, Harold was collecting his belongings from the guest room. I've called a car service, he told me. I think it's best if I give your family some space tonight. You don't have to leave, I said. I think I do, he countered with a wry smile. Besides, I have about 100 emails to answer before morning. Apparently, my new boss is quite demanding. For the first time that evening, I felt a genuine smile tug at my lips. Is that so? Her reputation precedes her, he confirmed, then added more seriously. For what it's worth, you've built something remarkable. The security framework you developed revolutionized the industry. I'm actually looking forward to seeing where you take Apex. With that unexpected vote of confidence, Harold departed, leaving me alone with my family for the first revelation's aftermath. The living room had never felt so silent. We sat in our usual places, yet everything had changed. The silence became sharper, a thin hum cutting through the late evening news. Jordan's words hung in the air, caught between confession and accusation. Ashley's confident mask slipped for the first time, her fingers clenched tightly, knuckles whitening. Edward and Susan exchanged looks, eyes full of questions they'd never speak aloud. What did Jordan really want? Was it recognition, an apology, or something far more uncertain? The room smelled faintly of rain, the soft rustle of leaves outside barely audible, a calm before an emotional storm. Jordan's voice was steady but fragile. I didn't hide this to hurt you. I needed to prove to myself that I could. Ashley's jaw tightened. You could have told us. Why keep it a secret all these years? Jordan looked away, voice low. Because none of you ever asked. You never saw me for who I really was, just who you wanted me to be. The words cut deeper than any feud. Susan's eyes shimmered with regret. We thought we were protecting you. Protecting me or ignoring me? Jordan challenged, voice wavering but fierce. I wasn't just playing pretend. Ashley's admission came quietly, almost too soft to hear. I thought your success wasn't as important as mine. The tension cracked open like a fragile glass, impossible to ignore. Everyone held their breath, waiting, wondering. What would come next? Would this family find their way back, or drift even further apart? The air thickened with unspoken truths, and the night stretched on, heavy with possibilities. In all our years of rivalry, Veronica had never acknowledged her role in diminishing me. What does Nexitech actually do? Ethan asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Besides owning Apex now for the first time that evening, I felt a spark of hope. Here was a real question about my work, not my wealth. We started with advanced cloud security, I explained. The security protocols I developed became the industry standard within 2 years. From there, we expanded into integrated systems management, data protection, and eventually artificial intelligence applications for enterprise. Ethan nodded, processing this information. That's why Apex was a strategic acquisition. Their hardware complements your software ecosystem. Exactly, I confirmed, impressed by his quick understanding. And you did all this without a college degree? My father said, his tone unreadable. The skills I needed I taught myself, I said. The rest I hired people who knew more than me. That's what good CEOs do. My mother stood suddenly disappearing into the kitchen. When she returned, she carried a magazine that had been buried under a stack of mail. The cover featured a silhouette with the headline, Nextate's mysterious founder, Tech's most influential invisible leader. This came with Richard's business journal last month, she said, her voice tight. I never connected it to you. I never even read the article. The irony wasn't lost on me. Evidence of my success had literally been sitting on their coffee table, unread and unnoticed. Does this mean you're rich? My father asked awkwardly. Yes, I answered simply. Very. Veronica made a sound between a laugh and a sob. All those times I offered to help you financially to get you back on your feet. God, you must have been laughing at me. I wasn't laughing, I assured her. It was painful actually to be seen as someone who needed saving when I was building something I was proud of. Are you going to fire me? The kitchen's harsh overhead light flickered, casting uneven shadows over the worn linoleum floor. A faint hum buzzed from the aging refrigerator, mixing with the distant crackle of a cold November wind rustling dry leaves outside. Suddenly, my phone vibrated sharply against the cluttered counter. I glanced down. A message. No sender, just words that cut deeper than any family argument ever had. It revealed Ashley's biggest secret, a recent, disastrous professional failure she desperately hid from everyone. Ashley's face paled. Pride fractured in an instant. The smug, untouchable sister everyone thought she was now cracked open, vulnerability shimmering in her eyes like fragile glass. For the first time, the armor she'd worn so tightly slipped, exposing the messy truth to the whole family. The room held its breath. Years of silent battles, whispered comparisons, and unspoken resentments froze in this unexpected moment. What did this mean now? Could everything we thought we knew about her, about us, really be rewritten in a blink? The air felt thick, charged, full of impossible possibilities. Could this be the moment we all finally understood each other? Or would it only deepen the divides we'd spent a lifetime building? I watched Ashley's hands tremble, and in that fragile pause, I realized something. Beneath all the rivalry, beneath the years of feeling invisible, we were both fighting for the same thing: to be seen, to be recognized, to finally matter. Are you going to fire me? Ashley whispered, her voice barely steady. I looked at her. No, I said firmly. You're good at what you do. That hasn't changed, no matter what's happened before. She nodded slowly, relief washing over her face, but something softer, more honest, flickered there too. A truce of unspoken understanding. My father leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly. I don't know what to say, Jordan. We've been wrong about you. Completely wrong. It wasn't an apology, but it was close enough. I kept the truth from you, I said quietly. That's on me, but you made me feel like I had to hide what I built instead of sharing it. A silence wrapped the room, thick and uncomfortable. Years of misunderstandings don't vanish overnight. The question hung heavy in the air. Where do we go from here? Ethan, always the practical one, broke the silence. So, how do we move forward? when everything we thought was real is suddenly different. I exhaled slowly, unsure. I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out. My mother's voice trembled with something between hope and desperation. Will you stay tonight? The spare bedroom is ready. Not the basement storage room, obviously. The idea of staying here, after all the truth, all the storms, was overwhelming. But driving away now felt even worse. I'll stay, I said. But I have calls to make first. The announcement went out to the executive team. There will be questions. My father nodded, a new respect softening his features. Of course, you have a company to run. His acknowledgement meant more than words. Maybe this was a beginning. Messy, uncertain, but real. Outside, the wind picked up again, rattling the door frame. The night stretched on, heavy with what might come next. Could we finally stop living in the shadows of our past? Or was this only the first chapter of a new kind of war? Only time would tell. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't alone. The low creak of the basement storage room door echoed as Jordan Blake picked up her overnight bag. The faint, musty scent of old boxes mixed with the chilly night air, filling the space between her and Ashley Montgomery. Ashley stood frozen, lips parted, like she had something to say but couldn't find the words. Outside, the neighborhood lay quiet, leaves rustling softly in the breeze. Could the long-standing rivalry between sisters like them ever truly fade? For years, Jordan carried the weight of being invisible to her family, her achievements overshadowed by half-truths and silence. Ashley, the favored daughter, had always seemed untouchable, successful, confident, smug in her secure place. Yet here they were, on the edge of something new, something fragile. Could they set aside all the old grudges? Could the walls built from years of spite and misunderstanding finally crumble? An uneasy truce lingered in the air, tentative, uncertain. As Jordan turned, Ashley broke the silence. "I never wanted it to be like this," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Jordan hesitated, then nodded. Years of competition had blinded them both. Maybe now, just maybe, they could try being sisters first. The question remained. How long before the secrets that drove them apart would surface again? Outside, the wind sighed through the trees, carrying whispers of storms yet to come. Could this night be the start of something real, or merely the calm before another battle? The answer was still waiting in the shadows. Steam curled lazily from the mug in Dad's hands. The bitter scent of coffee pricked my nose, sharp, familiar. Suddenly, I was 6 years old again. Peering through the crack of the kitchen door, I watched Ashley beam, proudly holding up her honor roll certificate. The cold Formica tabletop pressed against my fingers. Hidden in my pocket, my own crumpled art project felt heavier than ever. Mom's fragrant hug wrapped around Ashley, but to me, it carried the weight of unspoken comparisons. Silent, but sharp. That moment. It wasn't just disappointment. It was the beginning of a quiet divide. Now, standing here, I sink into the stillness of that memory. The ache hasn't fully left, but there's a strange new relief, as if I'm finally seeing the past clearly for the first time. Tonight, that long-held silence cracked open. The burden of pretending, of living half a life, lifted, even if only for a moment. I'm not just the daughter who fell short, or the successful founder no one quite understands. I'm whole. Across the hall, Ashley's voice flickers, tense, hushed, businesslike, talking to her colleagues at Apex. Down the hall, Mom and Dad murmur behind closed doors, no doubt rearranging their thoughts about the stranger their middle child has become. Our family is still fractured, still uncertain, but maybe, just maybe, we're finally beginning to see each other without the filter of grudges and expectations. Morning breaks slow and awkward. The scent of brewing coffee fills the kitchen, mingling with a quiet tension that hangs like fog. I'm up before sunrise, a habit that's burned deep. Dad is already there, staring into his mug like it holds answers he can't quite grasp. I clear my throat, almost afraid to speak. "Merry Christmas," I say softly. His startled look breaks into something almost like warmth. "Merry Christmas, Jordan," he replies. "Coffee, please." He pours carefully, not like a resigned father, but as if serving a guest he wants to honor. "Did you sleep well?" he asks, breaking the silence. "Better than I would in the basement," I tease, watching his wince. It's a jab, but one that opens a crack. "I didn't realize how cold it was out there," he admits quietly. Not a full apology, but closer than I've ever come to hearing one. I nod, accepting that small piece. "I have some calls to make," I say, checking my phone. "The official announcement goes to Apex at 9. He pauses, then awkwardly asks, "Should I leave you alone to work?" For a moment, I see how little he knows of my world. "No, it's fine," I answer. "I'm used to working anywhere." Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, rustling dried leaves, a reminder that no matter the past, even fractured families can try to find their way back. The scent of cinnamon and fresh coffee curled through the kitchen, carrying a quiet tension that felt heavier than the morning air. Jordan Blake's hands trembled as the old clock ticked closer to 9. The same kitchen table where she'd once rushed through homework now held her laptop, a battlefield for proving herself. Across the room, Ashley Montgomery's phone buzzed. She set it down slowly, voice steady but her eyes flickering with something Jordan hadn't seen before: uncertainty. "It's official," Ashley said, breaking the fragile stillness. But before anyone could respond, Ethan cut in, voice sharp. "Wait, that email, it's not from the company. It's from a private account." Silence smashed the room. Everyone froze, breath caught between shock and disbelief. Jordan's heart jolted. The story had shifted. This wasn't just a family announcement. Someone inside wanted the truth uncovered, no matter the cost. Jordan's gaze met her father's, who watched her with a new kind of curiosity. She wasn't just the overlooked middle child anymore. She was the founder with power, finally undeniable. The kitchen filled with forced smiles as Ashley nervously swiped between emails. Their mother fussed over breakfast, setting out plates of French toast and fresh fruit, a silent attempt to mask the undercurrent of competition that had long defined the Montgomery household. "Should we do the announcement before or after breakfast?" their mother asked, the question hanging like a fragile truce. "After's fine," Jordan replied, closing her laptop just as 9 struck. Ashley's phone chimed again, and she read the message. "Nexatech Solutions has acquired Apex Industries. It's official." Jordan's words echoed in the room. "Whatever our differences, I'm still a Montgomery." Her father's eyes softened, a flicker of pride breaking through years of silence. But the weight of unspoken grudges lingered, humming beneath every whispered word. Thanksgiving dinner was a study in contrasts. The tree sparkled in the corner, but beneath the twinkling lights the gifts told their own story. Ashley's wrapped in glossy paper, Ethan's carefully chosen, while Jordan's sat in a corner, generic, indifferent. A scarf with no warmth, bath products from a generic store, a best-selling novel she never wanted. The room thrummed with unspoken questions. What made someone worthy of recognition? Could a family torn by rivalry and misunderstandings ever find a way to see each other clearly? Jordan sat quietly, the soft rustle of leaves outside a reminder. Even broken roots can grow new branches. Would this be the year they finally did? Jordan Blake stood amid the stunned silence, the torn wrappings scattered across the hardwood floor. The warm scent of pine from the Thanksgiving centerpiece mingled with the faint chill drifting in from the open window. Everyone's eyes remained fixed on the gifts she'd just handed out, each one thoughtfully chosen, each one a quiet declaration. Ashley Montgomery's usually smug smile faltered, her gaze lingering just a moment too long on the embossed leather portfolio, a crack in her practiced facade. The room held its breath. What had Jordan known all along? What secret was she clutching just beneath the surface? And why reveal it now? The air was thick with tension. Jordan's mother sat quietly, fingers twisting the delicate necklace Jordan had unearthed months ago, a piece she had once only quietly admired. "How did you find this?" she whispered, voice tinged with disbelief. Jordan's steady eyes met hers. "I listen," she said simply. "I always have." Even her father's usual reserve softened, a flicker of pride shining in his tired eyes. Ashley shifted uneasily, her polished image cracking under the weight of Jordan's quiet triumph. Then, without warning, their mother disappeared into the spare bedroom. Moments later, she returned, clutching a small, roughly wrapped parcel. "We got this morning," she said, voice low. "Your father went to the 24-hour pharmacy while you were on your calls." The room held its breath again, words hanging unfinished in the air like the sudden rustle of autumn leaves outside. Something more was coming, something that would change everything. The sunlight slanted across the kitchen table, casting long, lazy shadows over the scattered Thanksgiving leftovers. Dust motes floated in the golden rays, shimmering like tiny secrets. The room hung heavy with an uneasy silence. Then the phone buzzed sharply, breaking the quiet. Ashley Montgomery reached for it, her usual confident smile slipping away like mist. Her eyes locked on the screen, wide and unblinking. The headline glared back. Nexitech's true visionary revealed. Ashley Montgomery's secret role in company origins. Heads snapped toward her. The air thickened, stifling, charged, electric. Everyone leaned in, caught between disbelief and awe. Jordan Blake's heart hammered. The story she had carried so fiercely, her claim to truth, fractured in that moment, splintering into something neither sister expected. Questions spun through the room. What did Ashley know? Had the lines between rivalry and reality blurred forever? Could this revelation mend old wounds, or deepen them? Inside the basement storage room, Jordan had wrapped gifts with care, each one a symbol of hope, a quiet declaration against years of being overlooked. The scent of pine from the Thanksgiving centerpiece mingled with the crisp fall air filtering through an open window. Ashley's poised facade wavered when her gaze settled on the embossed leather portfolio Jordan handed her. The room held its breath. What secrets had Jordan been guarding? What story was she willing to tell now? Their mother's fingers trembled around a delicate necklace Jordan had uncovered months ago, a forgotten token from their family's past. "How did you find this?" she asked softly, disbelief thick in her voice. Jordan met her eyes steadily. "I listen," she said simply. "I always have." Even Edward Montgomery's usual reserve cracked. Pride flickered in his tired eyes. Then their mother retreated into the spare bedroom and returned clutching a small, rough package. "We got this morning," she whispered. "Your father stopped by the pharmacy after your calls." The room waited, breathless, as if knowing something monumental was about to unfold. Inside was a silver frame holding a printout of the long-ignored magazine article about Nexitech, the very company they had dismissed. "We thought maybe you could sign it," Edward said awkwardly, "since you're the mysterious founder they wrote about." It was clumsy. It was late. But it was the first time they saw her, not just as a daughter or sister, but as Jordan Blake, a force to be reckoned with. Jordan gave a small, steady smile. "Thank you." As the morning unfolded, conversations shifted. Tentative questions about Nexitech, its growth, its future. Ethan, her youngest brother, asked sharp, thoughtful questions about business strategy. Even Ashley, reassured about her place in the family, showed a trace of genuine curiosity. "So, all those times you were on your laptop during holidays, you were actually running a billion-dollar company?" Ethan said, eyes wide. "Pretty much," Jordan smiled. Last Thanksgiving, I was finalizing a major acquisition while you thought I was playing games. Ashley's lips pressed together. Is that why you always left early? Their mother asked quietly. Jordan hesitated, the familiar tug between truth and tenderness pulling tight inside her. Partly work, she admitted, and partly because these gatherings were difficult for me. Her father swallowed, surprised even himself. Because of how we treated you. Yes, Jordan said, voice breaking the silence. It's hard, sitting through hours of being the family disappointment. A heavy pause settled. Her mother wiped a tear away and suddenly reached for an old photo album. I found some pictures, she said, voice soft now, from when you were in high school, in the computer club. She opened to a page showing a younger Jordan, radiant and proud, standing with teammates and a ribbon for a regional coding competition, one the family never attended. You won first place, her mother whispered, tracing the faded ribbon. I remember now. We didn't go because Ashley had a volleyball tournament that weekend. The room grew still. The years of rivalry, misunderstandings, and silent coldness suddenly seemed fragile, like autumn leaves trembling before a wind that might scatter or gather them. Jordan caught Ashley's eye and wondered, after everything, could they finally begin to see each other? Truly. The soft clink of coffee cups filled the quiet kitchen. Rain tapped gently on the window pane, a soothing contrast to the storm brewing inside. Jordan Blake sat across from Ashley Montgomery, their eyes locked, charged but silent. Jordan slid her phone across the polished table. The glow of the screen caught Ashley's attention. A single subject line flashed. Promotion confirmation. Forwarded from Edward Montgomery. Their father's name. Ashley's confident smirk faltered. The message revealed what no one had dared say aloud. Months ago, Edward had quietly guaranteed Jordan's promotion. Before the public announcement, before the congratulations poured in. The room held its breath, the air thick with unsaid truths. Jordan felt her pulse steady, a mix of relief and revelation washing over her. Their father had known all along. Behind the curtain of indifference and family tension, he had been working in silence. For years, Jordan's efforts had been overshadowed, misunderstood, dismissed. But now, everything was changing. Ashley looked away, the fire in her eyes dimming. The fierce rivalry softened, revealing something fragile and human beneath. Did the family's walls finally start to crumble? Could respect replace competition? That night, words came easier. The past didn't disappear, but maybe, just maybe, the future could be different. Lunch had been quiet at first, decades of unspoken grievances hanging between them. Jordan remembered the early years, her achievements ignored, sidelined for Ashley's victories. The photo album brought memories back, the coding ribbon she won, a triumph buried beneath volleyball trophies and family expectations. Ashley had no idea. Neither did their parents, really. It wasn't blame or bitterness that came after, just fragile understanding. Later, Jordan's phone buzzed. A flood of emails from Herald Company, congratulations pouring in. Ashley's anxiety flickered, but Jordan reassured her. The team will handle the changes. Your day-to-day won't shift much. Ashley smiled, genuine, warm. So, I guess I'm the big boss now, she said, a hint of humor catching the tension. Dinner was quieter, simpler. The evening air smelled faintly of rain-washed leaves as the family spoke. No longer strangers, but people trying to reconnect. Edward asked about Nex8's growth. Susan about Jordan's life in other cities. Ethan's questions sparked enthusiasm. Most surprising, Ashley shared stories of her struggles at Apex, inviting Jordan's perspective. Challenges that once divided them now built a bridge. Jordan listened, their conversation flowing like a creek breaking through ice. The weight of years didn't vanish, but somewhere between autumn's chill and the promise of winter, the siblings began to see each other, not as rivals, but as allies. Could this be the start of something new? Only time would tell. But tonight, hope felt real, the kind that lingers in the quiet moments before dawn. Technical features versus user benefits. At Nexatech, we reverse the development process. We start with the user experience and work backward to the technical specifications. "That's brilliant," she acknowledged, professional respect entering her voice for the first time. For a brief moment, I glimpsed what might have been possible all along a relationship based on mutual respect rather than competition. It wasn't too late to build that now, I realized. After dinner, as we settled in the living room with coffee, my father asked the question that had clearly been on his mind all day. "Why did you decide to keep your success a secret from us?" Specifically, I understand the business reasons for anonymity, but why not tell your family? It was the heart of the matter, the question that had lingered beneath all our interactions since the revelation. I needed to know if you could ever see me for who I am, not what I've achieved, I answered honestly. I wanted to be valued for my ideas, my vision, my character, not my bank account or title. "And we failed that test," my mother said softly. "Yes," I confirmed. "Until yesterday, you did." "And now," Ethan asked, "what happens with us now?" I looked around at their faces, so familiar yet somehow new in the light of our changed understanding. "Now we start again," I said, not pretending the past didn't happen, but not letting it dictate our future either. As Christmas Day drew to a close, I realized something unexpected had occurred. The revelation of my secret had not brought the vindication or triumph I might have imagined. Instead, it had created space for something more valuable, the possibility of authentic connection. We were not a healed family. Not yet. There were years of hurt and misunderstanding to address patterns of behavior to unlearn. But for the first time since I was a teenager with a dream no one believed in, I felt seen by my family. Not completely, not perfectly, but genuinely, it was a beginning. Cicadas sang softly through the thick, warm July evening. The scent of fresh-cut grass mixed with the cool hint of lake water floating on the breeze. Jordan Blake, just 12 then, sat bent over her science fair project in the cramped basement storage room. Sweat clung to her shirt, heavy and sticky. Upstairs, the sound of laughter spilled from the kitchen, where her family toasted Ashley Montgomery's newest swimming trophy with root beer floats. The clinking of glasses, the fizz of soda, it all blurred together with the sharp, bitter taste of being invisible. She could almost taste the melted vanilla on her tongue, sweet and painful at once. Years later, standing on her own deck, Jordan felt that memory drift back. Only this time, the summer breeze carried different voices, ones that were finally meant for her. 6 months after that turning point, Jordan watched her family arrive at her lakeside home with something new between them: ease. No longer strangers stepping into her life, but people moving confidently toward her door. Her mother's hug was warm, unreserved. "The house is beautiful, Jordan. You owe me a full tour this time," she said, her tone soft but genuine. Her father followed, a bottle of champagne in one hand, a technology magazine in the other. "You made the cover again," he said, pride unmasked. "Thought we might add this to the collection." Since that Christmas, a dedicated shelf in their suburban Philadelphia home displayed every article, every award Jordan had earned. Their pride, previously reserved for Ashley and Ethan, was now out in the open. The weekly family calls hadn't just survived, they thrived, turning from routine check-ins into something warm, something real. This is different, Jordan thought. Her parents now boasted about the entrepreneur daughter to neighbors and friends. Sometimes their enthusiasm was almost too much, but she didn't mind. Ashley arrived last, carrying a calm that had been absent for years. At first, after the acquisition, she'd struggled to find her place in the corporate world, but she had adapted. Slowly, their professional respect became the foundation for something more human. "The marketing team loves the new product direction," Ashley said as they prepared dinner side by side for the first time that year, the knife in Jordan's hand pausing mid-chop. "The focus groups are responding exactly like you forecasted." "You nailed the board presentation," Jordan replied. "Clear, confident, backed by the data." Ashley smiled with that old competitive spark. "I learned from the best." The kitchen door opened and Ethan stepped in, laptop in hand. "Can I run something by you?" he asked. "I'm working on a financial consultancy for tech startups. Got a business plan drafted." Jordan looked up. This too was new. This sibling, once just a rival, was reaching across the old divides. Could they really be rewriting their story? For years, Jordan had carried the weight of being undervalued, dismissed, secretive. Now, with every cautious step toward connection, she asked herself, was this finally the recognition she'd fought for? Could independence and family pride exist side by side? The answers hung in the air like the summer night sounds. Quiet, hopeful, ready to grow. The cool evening air carried the faint scent of rain, mixing with the soft rustle of leaves around the deck. We gathered there, the glow from the string lights casting a warm, golden hue over the water's gentle ripple. It felt surreal. Just 6 months ago, this family was fractured, tense, distant. Now, voices blended and laughter laced the conversation. Ethan, once distant, leaned in with a business plan in hand, asking for advice, not rivalry. I caught my breath, realizing how far we had come, not just in success or recognition, but in understanding each other. Then Dad's voice cut through the hum. "Remember what you said at Thanksgiving, about wanting to be valued for who you really are, not just for what you've done." My gaze drifted to Ashley across the table. Her smile faltered, a shadow of vulnerability in her usually confident eyes. "I pushed that idea hard on all of you," Dad confessed, looking at me. "Especially you, Jordan, because you challenged what success means." Ashley's voice was soft, almost reluctant. "We all got trapped, measuring ourselves by titles and trophies. I was so scared of losing my place. I couldn't even celebrate my own wins, or yours." Her eyes met mine. "Because your success, it's yours, real, and that made it harder to face." The golden light around us seemed to pull back a curtain, revealing hidden cracks, bruises none of us had admitted. For the first time, the rivalry between us didn't feel like a battlefield. It was a mirror, showing fears, hopes, and the quiet strength it takes to be honest. As the night deepened, I thought about how much I had carried my secret alone, the weight of hiding who I was for so long. But letting go, that was the real twist. When I stopped asking for their approval, I created a space for real connection. My independence no longer built walls, but bridges. Vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was power. Could we finally be a family that accepted each other fully? As leaves whispered in the cool breeze, I knew the answer was unfolding right there, around that simple, quiet table. The late afternoon sun filtered through the half-shuttered windows, casting golden beams that caught the swirling dust. Jordan Blake stood frozen, the soft creak of the old basement storage room floor beneath her feet. Her mother's question hung in the heavy air, mixing with the distant scent of rain lingering just outside. "Remember the basement?" The voice broke her reverie. Jordan's gaze flickered over to Ashley Montgomery, her sister, who stared stiffly at the floor, swallowing a tension that stretched between them like a taut wire. For years, that room had been a silent battleground, filled with unspoken grudges and the weight of secrets neither dared to share. What truth still hid behind those walls? What had Jordan finally uncovered to change everything between them? The humid summer air settled as Jordan took a slow breath. A faint rustle of leaves drifted through the cracked window as she recalled the years of being overlooked, the nights spent working while her family dismissed her efforts. Ashley had always been the favorite, successful, confident, always carrying the weight of expectations with a smug smile. Their rivalry was more than sibling competition. It was a battle for recognition, respect, and identity. But now, quiet began to replace the old resentment. The basement, once a symbol of her exclusion, had transformed. A home office, warm with heated floors and walls that held no judgment. Could this space finally be the bridge that mended what had once seemed irreparable? Professionally, the changes mirrored the shifts at home. Jordan's rise as the public face of Nexitech wasn't without challenges. The scrutiny had been harsh, questions about her place, her worth, but it only fueled her resilience. She used those experiences to reshape company policies, championing work-life balance and opening doors for women like her, often dismissed by traditional hierarchies. Mentoring young entrepreneurs became her passion, a quiet rebellion against the systems that had tried to hold her back. And surprisingly, Ashley wasn't her enemy anymore. The sisters found strength in their differences, Ashley's sharp marketing acumen blending with Jordan's visionary drive. Together, they turned rivalry into partnership. Jordan smiled softly, recalling their parents' words about converting the basement. "It's ours now," her father had said. That space had once echoed with exclusion, but now it offered acceptance, warmth, possibility. As night blanketed the suburban Philadelphia neighborhood and stars peeked through clouds heavy with the promise of rain, Jordan felt the fragile threads of their frayed family weaving together anew. They weren't perfect, not by miles, but they were trying, growing, becoming real. Success, Jordan realized, wasn't a trophy on a shelf. It was the courage to be authentic, even when it meant facing the parts of ourselves we kept locked away. And in that quiet basement office, under the watchful eyes of the past and the hope of the future, maybe this time, they could finally get it right. The front door closed with a soft click, echoing through the still house. Jordan Blake's hand rested lightly on the banister. She watched Ashley Montgomery's silhouette fade into the night, swallowed by shadows and the promise of rain. Relief mingled with a familiar ache, old wounds stirring beneath the surface. But something had shifted. The warm lamplight spilled across the faded family photos on the wall, casting long shadows that danced with memories both bitter and bright. Could this be the moment when years of silence and resentment finally softened? As the scent of rain drifted through the open window, Jordan's breath slowed, her heartbeat steadying at last. Vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was the first taste of freedom after a lifetime of holding back. The quiet hum of possibility filled the room. She let go of the bitterness that tied her down, and in that moment, a new story began. Her story, finally told. Years ago, the basement storage room was her exile, a cold, dusty place where she was forgotten. Now, it was her sanctuary, a workspace that welcomed her vision and resilience. The same place that once separated her from family warmth now stood as a bridge, a symbol of growth and hard-won respect. Professionally, Jordan's rise as the face of Nexitech had been anything but easy. Questions about her worth drove her to fight harder. She redefined success, not as a trophy, but as the courage to be herself, to break barriers for women overlooked in a male-dominated world. And surprisingly, Ashley was no longer just the rival. They'd found strength in their differences, combining Jordan's drive with Ashley's sharp instincts. Together, they transformed conflict into partnership. Beneath the suburban Philadelphia sky, heavy with the scent of rain and the rustle of leaves in the breeze, Jordan felt the fragile threads of family pulled gently together again. The courage to be vulnerable, the will to grow beyond old limits. True success isn't what you build, it's who you become in the process. As the family prepared to leave, promises of next month's Thanksgiving dinner floated in the air. Jordan felt a quiet contentment deeper than any business triumph. That basement, once a place of exile, was now a warm corner of belonging. Have you ever had to hide a part of yourself, to shield your strengths or dreams from those you love? What would happen if they suddenly saw the real you? In those moments, what do you choose? resentment, or release. Maybe your story is just waiting to be told, like mine once was. Because your worth, it will never depend on who sees it. It lives in the courage to show up, again and again, no matter what.